All right, so let's review intermediate. So, what time is it? Let me prioritize our efforts. All right, let's do question 1 and then question 2 and then we'll see. That's a good question actually. We want to get the character in the middle. So, if the number of characters is odd, it's pretty simple, right? If we got 3 characters, the one in the middle is the second. Easy. But what happens if we got an even number of characters, like test? In that particular case, we want to get the last one from the first part, if that makes any sense, right? Cool. So, I'm going to create a variable. Well, first of all, the argument name. I don't know. This is very unique, right? So I call it a string. So I would like to create a variable called index equals we'll see, and then return string index. Yeah, you see I'm not following a sequential order. I'm just preparing the exercise. So now the complexity is how to get the index. Well, it depends, right? It depends on whether the string has an odd or even number of characters. So we can do string.length. So if we do that, will the number of characters be odd or even?
Even. You have to make it super important.
I can do that. I can do that. Or that. That's fine. But that's valid as well. Why? Because if I got 3 characters, 3 modulus 2 is 1. Is 1 evaluated as truthy or falsy? Wrong. True. If you got 1, you got something. So odd. And then on the other way around, if the number of characters is 4, 4 modulus 2 is correct. Is 0 truthy or falsy? Falsy, correct. Yeah? Of course, you can, if you feel more comfortable, you can do that. I'm not against that, right? Okay, so if it's an odd number, so if I got 3, the index will be string, will be the length of the string divided by 2. So 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, right? But 3 divided by 2, 1.5. I want the one on index number 1. So I have to floor the result. So if I got 3 characters, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. All right, give me the number 1, right? Because JavaScript starts at index number 0. 0 will be the first, 1 will be the second, the one in the middle, and 2 will be the third and last. Yeah? What if it's even? So if it's even, if I got 4 characters, I want the character on index number 1. That's correct. So I can do string.length divided by 2. So that, correct. So that will give me, if I got 4 characters, that will give me 2, but then minus 1. String, else. Yeah? So that's the way it works. Do we need to surround that division with parentheses? No. It's not necessary. I can do that. Doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary because the division will run before that expression, right? Cool. Will this work? Do I need to round or to floor or do anything exotic here? No, because if the number of characters is even, that's it. 4 divided by 2, 2. 10 divided by 2, 5. Yeah? It's always an integer number. So let's see if it works. It does work. So what you did here? So Gideon. So he's getting the length of the array. I don't understand that space. and then he's getting half. Good, I like that. And then if, that means it's even. That's interesting. You can use character add. Yeah, it's the same as square brackets. It's a different syntax. Yeah. So if it's even, then half minus 1. If it's odd, I was going to give you a positive point, but I'm not going to do it because I'm not very happy about this scenario. Why? What happened if we got 3 characters? What's the value of half? 1.5. That's a bit weird, right? Give me the character of the position 1.5. It works because JavaScript can deal with it, but I don't like it. Yeah? So we should floor the number. For Darius, very similar. However, if we compare Gideon with Darius, hopefully you can see the ternary operators. It should be on the right hand side. You see? Look at that. Look at Gideon. If something, then new line. Else, new line. Yeah? So this shouldn't be dropped on the left hand side of the new line. And also there is a missing semicolon at the end. For Alberto, if it's even, that's good. Missing space here, Alberto. Otherwise, if it's odd, then that's good. You see? Then word of length divided by 2. Yeah, that's nice. Wesley, one line. That's interesting. So he doesn't really care if it's odd or even, right? So he's doing word of length minus 1. So that means if it's odd, so if we got 3 characters, 3 minus 1, 2. 2 divided by 2, 1. Correct. And if it's even, if we got 4, 4 minus 1, 3, divided by 2, 3 divided by 2, 1.5. Yeah, that's correct. I like it. Yeah. It took me a while to understand, but it's very elegant. I like it. 1.4 Wesley. Cool. I think that's pretty much it. So, anything else, guys, regarding question number 1? No? Cool. So, let's have a look to the second one. That's the one that no one has solved. That's a tricky one. That question is tricky. But I'll show you a trick. I'll show you a special way to solve it. So we're going to see how many days each month has, right? So for instance, how many days March has? 31. How many days February has? Well, it depends, right? I've seen people doing if month equal 1, return 31. If month equal 2, return 28. Wrong. Because February depends. Some years February has 28 days, some years February has 29 days. Yeah? You know why this happens, right? Because when the modern scientists analyze how long the Earth took to complete a journey through the moon, they calculated it was 365 days. But then, decades later, they realized it wasn't true. It was 365 and 6 hours. Takes a bit longer. The Mexicans, and you know that, Daniel, 5 centuries ago, they managed to calculate that, and they failed by 15 minutes instead of 6 hours. So the calcs from the Mexicans in the 15th century were way better than the Europeans on the 19th. But that's a separate story, right? In that respect, there is something very funny in JavaScript when you try to calculate and I'm not going to spoil the result. So give me the time on the 1st of January of 1948, and give me the time in 47. Yeah, this will report some unexpected results, and I'm not going to tell you what and why. Yeah, of course, yeah. Regardless of how you calculate it, that returns something unexpected, and this is because of the Battle of Trafalgar. Anyway, get days of the month. So we have a date, right? We have a date, but I'm not going to call it date, because if I call it date, I will easily get confused. I may think that's a date object. It's not a date object. What type of data date is? It's a string, correct. So whenever I got that, I do something like that. It's a string. So I know I need to be careful when I manipulate it. All right, so I would like now to get a date object. So I could do that, but there is a problem. That date is on European format, day, month, and year. In JavaScript, that's not the way dates work. In JavaScript, you got first the year, then the month, and then the day. So we need to manipulate it. We need to transform 1st of December of 1984 into 1984 December 1st. That format has some advantages over that format. For instance, you can sort dates alphabetically with this format. Yeah, essentially, look, that's a number, right? So following that criteria, I know that number is greater than, for instance, this number. Yeah, so that's an advantage of the international date format, and thankfully JavaScript follows it. So how do we transform it? Well, we can do something pretty simplistic. We can split, yeah? So if we split with a hyphen, we got that, right? And now we can reverse it. So by reversing it, yeah? And now, how do we move from here to there? You tell me. Join what? Correct. I find this pattern very sexy, very elegant. Yeah? You get the date tokens, you flip them, and then you join again. Yeah, of course, that's not the only way to do that, but I particularly like it. And if you want to simplify that a bit, you can call it a new variable, international date, I don't know. Yeah, you can create a variable. That depends on your appetite today. All right, so now I have a proper date, and because I have a proper date, I can get day, month, and year. I mean, technically speaking, to be frank with you, I may have followed a different approach. So if I got, I may have get the month and the year and the day by parsing the string. That could be a valid option. I may try that later on. For now, how in JavaScript we get the month of a date? Get month. And how do we get the year? Wrong. That's one of the oddities. Get full year. All right, so now I got two numbers. Yeah, month and year. I don't care about the day. And I'll show you in a minute. Look, that's now the tricky part. return, new date. So I want to get, let me rephrase that. The last day of a month is the same as go to the next month and remove one day. So I can do year, month plus 1. Yeah? So go to the next month and give me the day number 0. In JavaScript, days of the month start at 1. Like humans, yeah? You don't say, is the day 0 of December? Doesn't make sense, right? So dates are human friendly, at least when talking about days. So you can do this trick. If you set day 0, it will go to the previous month. So now the question is, so that will tell us, that will give a date with pointing to the last day of the current month. So how do we get the day out of it? Say it again? That's correct. That's the last day of the current month. Why? Because we went 1 month ahead, so if it's November, so we set the date to December, so instead of saying, give me the day 0 of December. So the day 0 of December is the last of November, technically speaking, according to JavaScript. So here, you can do get date, and that's confusing, guys, because to me, it should be get date, right? But no, it's get date. So get date will give us a number. Does it make sense? It's a bit tricky, right? That's not something you come across often. Anyway, let's see if it works. It does work, right? So that will probably be my favorite approach. I find it very elegant. However, let me try an alternative. To get the year, I can create a variable called year tokens equals year.split. So now, to get the year, or no, sorry, not year tokens, date tokens, right? To get the year, so how do we get, guys, the year out of date tokens? Say it again? Yeah. Year dot is what? Date tokens equal, yeah, so here, yeah, so if I got that date, I'm essentially creating tokens like that, an array of 3 elements. So how do we get the year?
Index number 2.
Correct. Where is it? Ah, sorry, yeah. Sorry, that's wrong, obviously. Excuse me. That is true, yeah? I did on purpose to see if you were paying attention. All right, so we got the year. What about the month?
Index 2, the 1.
Date tokens of 1, right? So you think that should be sort of equivalent. Let's see if that works. Let's see if that works. No, it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? All right, I got a feeling. Look, it worked well for March. It didn't go well for February. So my feeling is, can you tell me what type of data year and month are? Strings, correct. Based on this way of thinking, we are dealing with strings. So let me transform these to numbers, yeah? All right, so if we evaluate again, now it doesn't work neither, right? Ah, sorry, let me get rid of the comments, but I think that shouldn't have any impact. Parse int, all right? That's a good question. That's a good question. Let's do something. Let's have a look to the values of year and month. Yeah? Let's see what we got in there. That looks correct, right? 2021, third, 2021, second, 2021, fourth. So now, why this doesn't work? That's not obvious. And that's the reason why I didn't follow that pattern first. Because that's really confusing. To me, that's probably, arguably, the most confusing aspect of JavaScript. Look, it's definitely returning something, right? It's not like returning undefined, it's returning numbers, but it looks like speaking the wrong numbers, right? The reason is, look at this oddity. Days start at 1, but months, listen to that, because of whatever dark reason, don't start at 1. Months start in JavaScript at 0. That's why here we got month number 3, March. Naturally speaking, the third month of the year is March. I like Alberto counting with the finger, right? 1, 2, 3, right? January, February, and March. However, technically speaking, for JavaScript, this is April. So we need to be extra careful. By passing month 3, we're immediately referring to the next month because it's the next index. That's why this solution is so confusing. I'm not a big fan of this approach. I rather prefer this one. I find it way more elegant because now we don't have to deal with the oddities between date and month. Yeah? We go to the next month, day 0, and that's it. Any questions?
So why you not question the platform? Because like that's something we haven't covered. No,
We haven't covered what?
any of what you
No. So dates were recently added to the backlog. It's not part of the bootcamp to talk about dates because you are not likely to deal with dates in a daily basis. I'll tell you something, whenever I have to deal with any of these problems, I may struggle as well because it's something you touch from time to time. It's not that important. I mean, it's not that important. It's not as important as, for instance, question number 3. This is much more important. Object manipulation, yeah? By the way, do you have any preference? Because I think we got 5 minutes. So we got time for one question, guys. Which one do you prefer? Delete props or get total Grand Slam trophies or, I think that's a good one, return the camel case. This one? I think that's a good question. Really good question. Yeah, and you really need to understand that, yeah, because you deal, I mean, not with this particular example, but with the problem of getting a string and how to find something on the string. Yeah. So I believe you could apply a regex. I hope no one has introduced a regex here, because you will clearly prove that you copy and paste it from Stack Overflow.
I used to split.
Okay, cool. I'll go that route as well, Joshua. So the problem here is we got a sentence, right? Which essentially, technically speaking, can be considered a list of separate words. So we want to find which word or words, look at the second scenario, we may have more than one, are written in camel case. And in regards to this exercise, we will consider a word written in camel case if it has a capital letters at any position apart from the first one. That's pretty much what the exercise talks about. There are many ways to solve this problem. I'll show you one of them. Not necessarily any better than obviously the one you wrote, right? I'll show you a very nice, in my opinion, way, because we're going to use something that I think no one has used before. So, once again, I'll create the skeleton of the problem. So I got an argument, I call it sentence. So return sentence, first of all, dot split, empty space here, Why? Because I want to get the words, right? So if I put an empty space, then I get the words, right? That's like the knife going on the butter, right? And then something, and then what? Join, correct. So I got an array of words, but then I want to bring a string back. So join. And how do we join the words in camel case? What's the clue here? Correct. Yeah. Here we're specifying the strategy. So if we got hello world, then essentially we'll have hello comma world. Yeah, you can put whatever you want here. If I put 2 hashes, we'll do that. Yeah. All right. So, and now the complexity is here. Line number 4. Something. What do we want to do? We want to identify the word or words that are written in camel case syntax. Which method in JavaScript takes an array and returns a subset of the array? Filter. I like that. We could use reduce as well, but let me use filter. So what's the argument name? Correct. I love it. Yeah? We have a list of words. So let's analyze each individual word. Do you remember, Lisa, what we discussed today? Yeah? So that line will run as many times as words our sentence has. Hello, Lisa, 2 words, 2 iterations. This is very important. 4 words, 4 iterations. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? 4 words, 4 iterations, and so on. All right, so now I'm narrowing the problem, right? I'm shrinking the issue. All the complexity now is about finding whether word is camel case or not. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to create a new function, is camel case, for readability purposes. Yep. And of course, you remember we can get rid of the braces. We can inline. This is what in Python we call a lambda expression. Yep. I find this code very sexy, very readable. Because if I want to understand how do we determine whether it's camel case or not, I can check that method. But if I don't care, I find this very readable, personally. So now, function is camel case, word. So function will be camel case if any of the characters, apart from the first one, is written in capitals. So, return word dot split, and in this occasion, I will use an empty string, no space, because here what I got is string, right? Hello world. So I want to have an array with like that, right? I want to analyze individually. Why? Because I want to find if there is any individual character apart from the first one in capital. Do we have any? No? The W do, right? So we need to find it. To find it, that's interesting. Let's use find. No, I changed my mind. No, I'm going to do something. Which is fine. That's okay, because we're going to stop at the first one that matches a given condition. So I'll show you how to use it with find. I'm going to remove it afterwards. So find character. So character equals character dot to uppercase. Will it be enough? Why not? Correct. If the first one is uppercase, it will stop here. But that's not what we want. We should ignore the first one. So, look, we can pass the index. Yeah? So we can check if index is greater than 0 and find the first character that is capital, and also, does it make sense? Also, if you don't like that, there is another way of solving the same problem. Some people like to do that. Look, slice 1. It's like, hey, remove the first character. Remove the first character, and then as soon as you find the capital one, then that word is camel case. That's another alternative. However, I'm going to do something radically different. And I strongly recommend you to move away from your comfort zone from time to time. I'm not going to use find. I'm going to use sum. Yeah. So in JavaScript, there are two special methods that, because of a reason, pretty much no one uses them. One is sum, the other one is every. So every will return true if all the elements satisfy a condition. Sum will return true if at least one element satisfies the condition. So sum what? Character equals character dot to uppercase. That's it. It's the same as find. Can you see the difference between, first of all, let's see if it works with find, right? Or we're talking bullshit. So let's test that. It works, right? So it works with find. And now, with sum. Will it work with sum? It does work as well. So what's the difference between find and sum? No, both are pure. They don't really modify anything. So, find will return what? So what will this function return? If my word is hello world, what will this function return? Say it again? That's correct. No, that's correct. That will return the capital W. Because find will go through each individual character, and as soon as it finds, matches the condition, it will return it. To me, even though it works, because W evaluates as truthy here, that API is a bit weird. If my API has a method called isCamelCase, from a human point of view, it's a Boolean. Is camel case yes or no, right? Is the camel case capital W? Like, what the hell? Still, it works, but I don't believe this is a beautiful API. Yeah, so if camel case, it should return true or false. And that's exactly what sum does. Sum says, does some of the elements match the condition? Yes or no? If any of the elements matches the condition, true. If not, false. That's the difference. And that's it. Any questions? No? Why don't we have to check the first character? Because we've sliced it before. We've removed it. The first one has to be lowercase. That's not what the exercise is asking us to do. That's not fully correct, strictly speaking. Just assume a word will be considered as camel case if contains any capitals at any position, ignoring the first one. Yep, so this is all about reading the instructions, guys. Cool. Any questions? Yeah? Go for it. Rule for each word. Yes, try it. Yeah, try it. Therefore, you can use for each to check all the characters, and then you can save like a boolean. If any of the characters is capital, then you change the boolean from false to true. Yeah, of course. You could use for each. You could use find. You could use filter, reduce. All right. So let's quickly, in 1 minute, have a look to you.
Second question.
Yeah.
You use the word index,
Yes.
but like, could you use any other?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter, right? It's first argument, Brexit, the second argument, right? You can call the arguments however you want. All right. So quickly, go question number 5, I believe, right? Actually, only Wesley solved it. So, sentence, return array, all right, empty. Here's an empty array. Look, Joshua, he's using for each, right? So he said, hey, if the word, no, if the first one is in lowercase, so you see that line is completely unnecessary because the exercise didn't care about that. It's more strict, to be honest, his rules is more strict. It's better from a technical point of view, but that wasn't asked, right? Also, the ampersands to the right. And then, look, he's slicing the word. You don't need to pass the second argument, because when you do slice 1, that will happen out of the box, right? It will take the rest of the string. And then, do you do that by yourself, or do you Google it? So, so this is a good example where regex are acceptable because they are pretty simple, right? So he has a string, and then he's essentially checking if any of the characters of the string is from A to Z range. That means it's capital. That's interesting. That's more strict. Because with the algorithm I did, I'll show you something. What happened if I got that? Will that word be considered camel case? Why not? My function will think it is camel case because that weird character is the same as the character in capitals. It's like if I pass a number. According to this function, this is camel case. That's why it's not very strict. However, what I appreciate about Wesley's solution is that he's explicitly checking the range between capital A and capital Z. So that's more strict. And the only reason why I'm not giving you a point here is because I don't like the way you prepare that condition. This thing is far from being readable. But the idea is great. I really like the idea. Cool. Anything else, guys? No? Fantastic. So let's call it a day. Thank you very much.